Hello and welcome to Optimum Derby Live. My name is Martin Crowson and I'm joined today by the MD of Optimum Derby, Tom Heeley. Hi, Tom, how are you?
Good, thank you. Very good. Cracking on.
Good. We're also joined by Barry, Tom's skeleton today, just to his right there, our left. Barry says hello. And we're specifically focusing on Barry's elbow today to talk about what today's discussion point is. Golfer's elbow. What is it? Are you suffering from it? And if so, how can it be treated? And crucially, how can you guard against it coming back again? Tom, it's late March here in the UK. The sun's tentatively starting to creep out. Golf courses are getting drier, and people who have been moaning about the weather for 6 months are getting back out onto the golf course. They don't want to catch golfer's elbow, not catch it, contract golfer's elbow early on. So first of all, tell us a little bit about what that literally is and what is golfer's elbow for starters?
Yeah, so golfer's elbow. So you've got two main structures that wrap around the elbow, that kind of muscles that feed down into the hand. You've got tennis, what you would often associate with tennis elbow, which is a little bit more on the outside of the arm. So if you sat here with your thumb on the inside, tennis elbow will be on the outside here, and then typically golfer's elbow will be on the inside here. So it's
so they're not the same thing. They're not the same thing then.
No, two different structures. So these muscles on the inner side, you've got your flexor muscles, and then on the outside, you've got your extensor muscles. Okay, so the ones on the inside, the flexors, typically involved when you flick through with a golf club. So it's typically on if you're a right-handed golfer, it would be on your right hand typically.
Okay.
As you get to the bottom and you almost flick that bit at the bottom there, you'll contract a little bit through here. So, and commonly it will come around sort of mainly on the mats, mainly playing on the mats when it's a little bit of a harder surface to hit versus playing on the softer ground. Yeah.
Okay, and it's a jarring motion that causes it. What is the injury?
So these two muscles, so tennis elbow and golfer's elbow. So if we focus on the golfers on the inside, it basically wraps off here, wraps down to the hand, and feeds into the muscles. It's a muscle basically, Martin. So it's an overuse injury to that muscle, where that constant repetitive action causes an increase in tone and increase in stress through that muscle. It's an overuse problem. It can be treated quite quickly, quite easily, if you've managed to get on top of it or notice it quite early on. And it's often not, how can I put this? It's often not in experienced golfers. It's normally in sort of novice golfers who have kind of gone from not hitting very many balls to all of a sudden hitting loads of balls. And that quick spike up in load or quick spike up in intensity correlates to an inflamed area and an inflamed tendon. Okay.
So it's pretty much like a repetitive strain injury, similar to one you may get using the mouse and the computer all the day for people that are desk-based.
Yeah, very similar. Very, very similar. Yeah, very similar.
So the area gets inflamed and painful, and then as golfers, we don't give it time to recover because we're going back out on the course again. And you think, I'm the same. 3 days later, I think, oh, it's all right now because I've not hit a golf ball. Go and play. And 3 holes in, it's starting to be sore again. Am I not far off the truth there?
Yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that. There's also an element of all sorts of things, a bit like Achilles tendinopathy. So if you think about the two as similar, the things that affect Achilles are things like different footwear, new footwear, changes in maybe insoles, changes in the surface that you're running on. Same sort of things occur here. So is it down to the grip strength or the grip that you've got on your golf clubs? Has that changed? Could it be down to the surface that you're playing on, or even could it be down to the weight of the clubs? If the clubs have changed and you've got some new clubs that are heavier or even lighter, the technique might change. So your swing might change and alter. And I would probably suggest even simply just going for a lesson or two, just to kind of have a look at your grip, how that is, and also looking at the contact with the floor and if there's anything you need to change from an overall swing perspective.
Yeah, presumably that could genuinely lead to golfer's elbow, a slight mismanagement of your grip because you're not holding it properly, and every time you're going through that, it's leading to damage in that area.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, so true. And again, a bit like the knee, the elbow becomes a little bit of a fall guy for things around it. So sometimes an issue with an old issue, maybe an old wrist injury or an old shoulder injury, can lead to sort of issues in the middle, so issues with the elbow. So sometimes it's worth just going to see somebody and getting it addressed around your shoulder or down to your wrist, and just making sure that there's nothing lacking movement or lacking strength around those areas that could contribute to what's going on in the middle.
If you diagnosed that to me in the clinic and you told me that's what I've got, would you recommend me to stop playing immediately until we've got this sorted?
Yeah, it might be. It depends how severe. It might be that you're able to tolerate sort of shorter swings. So it might be you're able to tolerate some pitching stuff or some sort of 9-iron sort of shots. But anything sort of driver might be intolerable, or it could even be the other way. It's very, very personal and depends on sort of how flared up it is and whereabouts it is, and what other areas you can continue to do. So you might not need to give up. It might just need to be that we modify a few things and go away and work on some stuff and come back.
And what's the pain feel like, Tom? Is it an ache, or is it as soon as you hit the ball you feel like a jabbing pain in the area? How does it come across? I was watching thinking, oh, well, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, you'll probably feel it a little bit when you're playing, but the other thing you'll notice is things like gripping. So if you try and open a tin or open a jar, that grip of holding the jar and then trying to twist, that'll probably be sore. Even things like holding something. So again, if you go on a holiday or picking up bags or picking up luggage or something a little bit heavy, you'll probably feel those things sort of sore as well. So grip strength will be a little bit uncomfortable. And during your playing, you might feel it a little bit, but you're probably more likely going to feel it afterwards. And it's going to be more uncomfortable when you finish playing than it is during. Although you probably will notice it a little bit during playing as well.
Okay. So if I come to you with this gripe, and biomechanically, grip-wise, swing-wise, I'm okay, how would you go about treating it?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I would certainly check out shoulder. So certainly check out what's going on up here at the shoulder, and if there's anything sort of lacking movement or any restricted ranges of movement, even if the shoulder blade's not quite moving correctly, or the rib cage is sort of blocked in a certain direction, that will impact your swing and therefore impact further down the chain into how you're then mechanically using your elbow and your wrist.
Sure.
And do the same thing for your wrist. Assess that and just see what's going on there, and if there's anything that's highlighted there that could impact on the elbow itself. And then from there, it would be a management of exercises. So we'll go through some specific exercises for your area. If that incorporates some stuff higher up the chain as well, sort of in and around the shoulder or the ribs, then we'll do that. And again, it will be some exercise-based stuff as well as some treatment stuff in the clinic as well, just to kind of manage that and trying to take some of the tension out and reduce some of the inflammation. And generally the scarring that occurs, it's something that doesn't happen just like a one-off incident. It's something that will occur over a period of time, and then you'll hit one ball and it'll be the last thing that breaks the camel's back type scenario. Yeah. Okay. So there'll be a huge thick buildup of scar tissue. So a lot of it will be based around trying to reduce that as well.
And presumably, like most injuries you treat at the Optimum Derby clinic, it's a case of me trying X, Y, and Z, and then coming back to you either with a visit or an email or a phone call and saying, this feels a little bit better. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it will start off, with some almost quite what might seem some quite rudimentary exercises, and again, some of those will just be to reduce the pain and reduce the significance of the discomfort, and then it'll be about progressing that back towards getting playing again, and reducing some of those areas of, let's say, upper body wise, sort of shoulder and ribs, and that might be go away, work on these for a week or two, and then come back. Depends on sort of what stage we're at and how uncomfortable or how sore it may be. Yeah,
generally a very broad range of how many weeks that I might need to be working on this to go from painful to confidently back playing better.
Yeah, it could be 6, 8, 10 weeks. If you manage to catch it quick enough and get on top of it quick enough, it could be 6 weeks, and that'll be getting back to probably full playing. You're probably going to be able to go and hit some balls even in the early stages, but not hit 100 balls. You might have to hit 25 balls. So you can reduce the load significantly whilst doing the exercise in the background to build up the tolerance to be able to then continue to hit 50, 60, 70 balls.
Okay.
Especially it's worse if you're not a very good golfer, because you have to hit more balls. So you need to improve your game, really. So you're hitting it less, and therefore you've got less discomfort. It's the real thing.
Tom's top tip to guard against golfers' elbow is just get better.
Yeah. If I go and play, I'll hit 120 balls or something silly in a round. So and half of those has gone in the water. So it'll,
Yeah, and presumably, if you're not the greatest golfers, you won't hit clean balls well. So you like to thud into the turf a bit earlier as well, which is exacerbating your problem as well.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, so true. So yeah, a coach's lesson would be useful. So even looking at going to your local golf course or where you normally play or where your membership is and getting just a lesson with those guys would be really useful as well.
Okay. If I'm serious about my golf and I've had it and I've recovered from it and it's taken me 6 to 8 weeks and now things are going well and I feel pain-free from it, what can I do to guard against getting it again? Is there anything that I need to be wary of apart from the obvious you just said, a lesson's good and going to speak to somebody if you look at your biomechanics, but what can I do exercise-wise at home from there?
Some real simple ones. So some really easy ones that you can do. So generally speaking, it's the flexion-based areas that are the problem. So inside of the elbow. So the muscle crosses both the elbow and into the wrist. So you're going to need to do some exercises where you allow the weight to go this way and then bring it back up again.
Slowly.
Nice, controlled, yeah. Especially on the way down. The down needs to be really slow and then upward can be a little bit quicker. And you're going to need to do that one with a bent elbow and then two with a straight elbow. Okay. And normally if you're doing it with a straight elbow, I would rest your arm onto something. So rest your arm across the dining table and let your wrist hang off the other end. And again, it's really important to keep the sort of the downward motion slow and the upward motion can be a little bit quicker if you want to.
Okay. And those sort of things will help.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be heavyweight, just a real lightweight, 1.5 kilos, water bottle, something like that. Really easy. And just do lots of repetitions of that to try and reduce the scarring and reduce the inflammation around the area. Even during the season, it would be useful to do.
Okay. And just briefly, Tom, because we'll have a separate live about tennis elbow, just the differences between the two. But what are they? In a couple of minutes, what's the differences between tennis elbow and golfer's elbow? Because like golf, tennis is a sport certainly here in the UK that people will be playing more in the summer, certainly outside. And we're getting to that stage now where people might be sort of getting their rackets out of the loft and looking to play a bit.
Especially when Wimbledon gets back on telly and there's some strawberries.
Like we used to when we were kids.
Yeah, exactly. So golfer's elbow would be more with this action, so where you bring little finger towards the inside of your body, because you will be, on a right-handed golfer, you'll be flicking that way. Yeah. Whereas tennis, it's typically from the forehand motion, so we're adding the top spin, so it's more of that action. So it's a little bit more rotation in that direction, where the thumb starts to then rotate towards the midline of the body, and that just uses the other side of the elbow. So whereas golfer's elbow will challenge here on the inside because you're shortening this way. Yeah. Or tennis elbow will be on the opposite side where you're adding that rotation, so it'll be on the top side, so into here.
And the pains and the the swelling will be similar for tennis elbow.
The symptoms will be very similar, just on the other side, basically, of the joint. So the pains and aches will be very similar and caused by very similar things. So changes in grip, hitting wet balls, a heavier racket. Those sorts of things will correlate to that same sort of discomfort. Very similar. It's an overuse injury, very similar to golfer's elbow, or again like Achilles tendinopathy we mentioned earlier. And it's those overuse injuries are something that come on over a period of time, and then all of a sudden you'll hit one, and it'll be the last thing that knocks you out.
And in terms of treatment, would you treat tennis elbow in the same way you would golfer's elbow?
No, differently, slightly differently. The management would be slightly different. You'd certainly do different exercises. You'd definitely look at the upper body in a different way, and you'd have to look at, again, going back and looking at some technique stuff again with the coach would be also useful to do, and just discussing that with your local coach or your local tennis rep or somebody like that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How certain injuries we need to go back and make sure that our biomechanics are working well, that we're actually doing the sport in the right way before we can actually start breaking down what our body's doing to try and make it better. I guess that's a big thing of more and more sports. That's important these days, especially mechanical body ones.
Yeah, 100%. Even like sort of with the motocross guys that I work with, some of those guys who maybe have a shoulder injury, what they'll then notice is the shoulder's absolutely fine, but as soon as they get back on the bike, they'll get something called arm pump, where if you've ever been mountain biking or if you've ever been rock climbing, you get that pump where you've been gripping on for so hard that your forearm just feels like it's about to explode. And that just comes down to the condition of the muscles within this area here. And it's because you've gone away and you've had this injury that actually now this is deconditioned as well. So it's often something that just gets missed. Even if the shoulder's the problem, don't forget about other things further down the chain.
Okay, great advice to finish on. Thank you very much, Tom, as ever. Really interesting.
No
If you'd like to find
problem.
out more about Optimum Derby, please visit our website. The address is at the bottom of the screen now. You can find out all about the services on offer there. And if you're watching us today on YouTube, thank you very much. Please smash that subscribe button. It really helps us out, and we'll give you an idea of all the other videos we've done about lots and lots of common injuries that sportsmen and women encounter these days, how to guard against them and how to rehab from them and get better. And if you'd like to email Tom directly to find out any more information or to book an appointment at Optimum Derby, if maybe you're struggling with golfer's elbow or tennis elbow, then Tom's email address is at the bottom of the screen now as well. That just leaves me, Martin Crowson, to thank you very much for joining us today here on Optimum Derby. We'll be back soon. Tom, thanks for your time as ever, mate. Have a good day, and we'll catch you all later. Thanks for joining us here on Optimum